Hey guys, it's Jacob with JMK Workshop, and today Pauline is going to show you how to make hanging shelves out of these 2x6 pine boards and this rope. We're going to start off the process by taking these boards to our planer and getting them down to 1 inch thickness. Then we'll go from there. Stay tuned.
Alright, once the boards were down to its final thickness through the planer, we moved them over to the miter saw, lined them up on top of each other so that we could cut them evenly. So then we flipped them over, did the same thing on the other side to make sure that they were straight. So then we moved over to sanding. So Jacob started with 80 grit, going through all the sides of both boards. Then it was my turn to do some sanding on these. So we moved up to 100 grit and 120, and then again moving through all the sides, make sure everything was sanded down and smooth. Once the sanding was done, we started the staining process. So we're using Minwax Honey Stain. It's one of our favorites that we use across our house in different projects. Once the stain was all dry, it was time to assemble our hanging shelves. So here I have the rope I'll be using, so I cut 2 identical ones that I then looped through and tied together to create that loop where we're going to hang them from the wall. I added some painter's tape to all the ends so that I could make it easier to go through the holes. So played around with them, twisted them a little bit, and was able to get them through each of them fairly easily. one shelf was already attached to the rope, so I made some knots to make sure it doesn't fall all the way down, and then I got started on the second shelf. The second one was a little bit trickier because I did not measure prior to putting them in and mark where my rope should have the second knot. But I kind of just try to measure with the measuring tape to make sure that they're all the same length. But what's really easy is once it gets hung, it's fairly easy to move them around if needed. Just like that, it was ready to be hung. The top section, you can play around with the rope and move it side to side so it's even and parallel. And then lastly, I just cut the ends of the rope after I made sure the knots were tight enough. And here it is and how it looks hung. I love how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you soon.